Hello, everyone, and welcome to Introduction to Ocarina. I'm so excited to have y'all here today. I know we're having a bit of a difficulty with the link right now, so I'll wait just a minute longer. That way, everybody can get here and we can start in about 10:02. So we'll talk in just a moment. We'll be right back. Okay, here we go. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Um, Yeah, I'll turn the sound down just a little bit. All right, guys. So today we're going to be looking at a few introductions. Does this sound better? We're going to be looking at an introduction to Ocarina today. So just wanted to go ahead and do a poll and ask you guys a question. So we're going to test out this feature, and you'll see right around the bottom of your screen that it'll say poll. So my poll today is, what is your experience with Ocarina? And if you want to add how many ocarinas you own, like what type you play, 12 hole, 6 hole, multi-chamber, please feel free to add that. All right, so that's my question right there. I don't know if y'all can see it yet, but it should be popping up momentarily. And I'm gonna put like answer choices, like 12 hole. I'm gonna put beginner, um, experienced, um, medium. So feel free to choose whichever answer you'd like. All right. So it should be on your poll. If you would help me find out what experience you have. You can also post it in the chat as well. In the chat, there's if you can't see the poll, you can post it in the chat and you can post it in the Q&A as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and get ourselves started though. We have a very cool presentation today that I'm excited to share. It's going to be geared towards introduction to the ocarina. So if that's something that like you just got your first ocarina or you're thinking about buying an ocarina, it's perfect for that. If you have your ocarina but just want to improve your skills, it's also really good for that as well. So before I do that, let me first go ahead and find my co-host real quick. That way they can help me monitor the session as well. All participants, there we go. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you so much, and thank you so much. Okay, so friends, thank you so much for being here again early in the morning. Really appreciate it. Here's me sharing my screen for what we're going to look at today, which is, again is an intro to Ocarina. So hopefully by now you should be seeing my screen and the presentation that we're going to do today. So let's get started with that. All right. So here's our Ocarina experience. And just so you know, at any point, if you want to raise your hand or type something in the Q&A, like you have a question about anything we talk about today, please feel free to type it in the Q&A. One of my admins will try to answer that as I'm presenting. And raise your hand if you have any questions or you want to add something. If you want to say something, feel free to raise your hand. That way I can call on you and we can share things. So feel free to ask questions at any time. All right, so let's talk real quickly about what ocarinas are best for beginners. If you're a person who's getting their ocarina for the first time, I have three very simple recommendations that are very cost efficient. We'll talk about plastic versus ceramic. For a beginner with no experience in ocarina, I definitely recommend plastic just because some ceramics are more expensive. And as you'll see, there's one ceramic type that's available a lot of the times, but it's not the best. I'll talk about that. And if you're an experienced ocarina player, you might know what I'm talking about. But the three ocarinas I recommend is Night by Noble, STL Plastic Alto, and Songbird Plastic Alto. So there's a few pictures that I'll show you. Yeah, there they are. Okay, so um, the Noble Ocarina is the most expensive of them. It's got a very beautiful tone and a nice finish, as you can see in the picture. STL Ocarina, I work a lot with them with my students. And they provide ocarinas that are altos. They sell them as tenors. So it's just so you're aware of, on their website, they'll be listed as tenors. Songbird Ocarina is also one that I recommend. They have ocarinas that are very price efficient, and they use the Focalink brand, which is really nice to play on. All right, guys. So with that being said, I wanted to talk real quick about this ocarina. Many of y'all know about this ocarina. This one is called, in many circles, like ocarina. Well, ocarina of crap, some people call it. But sometimes, like whenever you search on Amazon, this is like the first ocarina that you find. So if you find it, this is not an ocarina that's very well tuned. It doesn't sound very good. And if you look at, if you play it on the high end, the notes are out of tune. So these are made mostly for artistic purposes. They're not made exactly for performance purposes, if that makes sense. So if you want to play ocarina, you might want to invest $25 in an ocarina that's a little bit nicer. And I recommend plastic for getting started for multiple reasons, because they're harder to break if you drop them. And also, you're able to get a really good tone out of the three ones that I recommended. Here I have one of the ones that I recommended. This is an STL Plastic, and I'm going to play it, just play a normal C scale on it so you can hear the notes. Can you guys still hear me? I know sound went out a moment ago. Can everybody hear me? I just want to make sure that the audio is still being shared. Can everybody hear me? You hear me okay? If you do, please type it in the chat. Let me go ahead and go to the chat real quick. Okay, great. Okay, I'm sorry, guys. I apologize about that. For some reason, the audio cut out for just a moment. Let me go back a little bit. So, we were talking about ocarinas that that I recommend. The three ocarinas I recommend, just to summarize it, are Noble. STL Ocarina has really nice ones. Remember, these are sold as tenors. They're altos. And also, this is Songbird Ocarina's plastic model. In addition to that, whoops, sorry, I went a little bit ahead. I wanted to tell you guys that there's one ocarina that you should try to avoid if you can. Let me see if I can pull it up again. So this one is called the, this one is an ocarina that's ceramic, and it's very common. It's the first search result a lot of the times when you find it on Amazon. This one's not tuned correctly, so try your best to avoid getting this ocarina if you can, please. If the sound cuts out again, if you're one of my admins, feel free to send me a direct Facebook message because I can't see the rest of my screen, so I can't really see the chat right now. I have to stop the presentation to read the chat. Okay, so I'm going to do a sound sample of the STL Ocarina because that's the one I have on hand right now. So let me get it real quick. I hope everybody can still hear me. So this, again, is a plastic ocarina. It's very good quality for a reasonable price. I want you to see what it looks like if you didn't get to see it. So once again, this is the STL Alto Ocarina that they have. It's a plastic one, and it's very good quality. One of the ones that I recommend as well. The Osawa Ocarina, which is really great one from Focalink, is awesome as well. I don't have mine on hand, but I own one of those as well. And I also own a Noble Night by Noble, which is also really nice. So if y'all have any questions or other suggestions, I'm reading a little bit of the chat right now, and I see that a lot of people really like the Osawa Ocarina. The Osawa Soprano is also a really good one, so I totally agree with that one. If you're not in the US, you might want to get your ocarina from Luna Kelta or from Sakura Waita. I brought a model from Sakura Waita here. This one is called the Garra del Condor. If you heard me play the song Condor Pasa, this is based off of the condor, if that makes sense. It means claw of the condor. So once again, this is from Ocarina Sakura Waita, and I don't have one on hand from Luna Kelta, but they're also a really great ocarina as well. If you want the English site for Night by Noble, that's a great question, Emily. I'm going to switch to the presentation. This is the last question I'll read. Leave all the other questions on the Q&A, but I'll answer this question. If you want to find the English site, they do have an English site. All you have to Google is Noble Ocarina English site, and then you'll be able to access it. Okay, let's go back to the presentation. Okay, so thank you guys. Here's the rest of the presentation. Let's get to work on it. So once you find your ocarina, remember, try your best to find one that's best for your needs. So if you want one that's like price efficient and is able to play very nice notes and it's light, I recommend one of the plastic ones because those are less than $30 most of the time, with the exception of the Night by Noble. And they're very good sounding. Once you get your ocarina, I put this picture of Link because a lot of people start learning the Zelda songs, which isn't always a bad thing because they're simple, sometimes they're easy to learn, and they have good tabs. So let's talk a little bit about kind of like the posture that you do and a little bit of basic technique when you get your ocarina. If you already have your ocarina with you and you're just starting, go over this with me real quick. So I have my students put both of their hands in front of them and hold their ocarina, and then I have them have their left hand under and their right hand over. You play the syllable two, kind of like if you were playing recorder, kind of like that. And it's really nice to be able to get a good tone out of it. Most people start their students on C, D, and E. I like to start my students on G, A, and B. So let's play these notes. And we're going to start just with G. Remember, in the back of your ocarina, you're going to want to cover your two thumbs in the back, and you're going to want to have 4 fingers in the front. So let's go ahead and play this. And as you're playing, try to make your breath not too cold, not too hot. If you put your hand in front of you and you blow cold air, that might be too cold. If you put your hand in front of you and you blow hot air, that might be too hot. The ocarina is an instrument where you can actually change the pitch by how hard you blow into it. If you blow into it very, very hard, it'll go sharp. If you blow into it very, very low, it'll go flat. And if you don't know what those words mean, it just means that if you blow into it too hard, it's not going to play in tune. If you blow into it too low, it's not going to play in tune either. You're most of the times at risk as a beginner of playing it too hard and when air that's way too fast. So I want you to try to match as you're playing your G with my piano. If you found that you were going too high or too low, try to adjust your sound and make sure that whenever you're playing and you have your ocarina with you, that your tone matches an absolute pitch reference like a piano or like a guitar. If you look up on YouTube, cello drone, that's my favorite way to tune because then you can hear all the overtone series and it's super cool. So let's go ahead and go over our second note A. Now that you are following the tablature along on your screen, can you guys see my screen okay or no? Okay, I don't think you can see my screen. Hang on a moment. Okay. Now that I have the tablature on your screen, I want you guys to go ahead and finger the note A. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to put both of your thumb holes in the back. You're going to put index finger in the hole closest to the, it should be your left. Which, okay, right hand and left hand are switched in my picture. Sorry about that, that's a glitch. But just know that it's the other way around. So if you make your fingers look like the picture and your left hand is under, your right hand is over, you're lifting your ring finger and you're playing the note A. So let's play that very, very quickly. Ready? Be sure that you're not blowing too hard or too soft. I'm going to take a quick break just to kind of see how we're doing with the chat. So let me check the chat real quick and just see how we're doing. Okay. All right. It seems that we're doing okay so far. So I'm going to move on because I see a lot of people that are kind of getting it. So we're going to go ahead and start with B now. Once we lifted our ring finger, now we can lift our middle as well. And we have index, pinky, and both thumbs. So I affectionately call this one the rock star because it kind of makes like a rock star hand sign. So that way my students can remember it. Let's go ahead and play B and try to tune it as best as you can. All right, now that we have our first 3 notes, if you need to review any of them, take a moment right now to just review what B looks like, what A looks like, and what G looks like. So we're going to read a few simple melodies. And here we go with the first one. Trying to keep track of our time. Good, okay. So I'm going to click like this. And since I'm assuming that a few people in our chat right now and in our session are beginners, I'm going to give you 2 clicks for the notes in black. Those black notes are called quarter notes. We'll go over them in a moment. I'm going to give you 4 clicks for the notes in white. Those white notes are called half notes. And I'm also going to give you 1 click for every single eighth note. So let's play this with tabs and note names. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2, ready, and go. Okay, so this is the easiest song that we have. And I just want to be honest. We're going to go through very easy songs first. And then at the end, I have a song for the double ocarina. And we're going to go get a little bit harder. So if you're a really experienced player, just hang tight for a few moments longer. And we'll get to music that's a little bit harder. Okay, how did everybody do? If you can type in the chat how you did, that way you could let me know how we're doing playing-wise. Like if we need to do it again or if you're good. Let me know in the chat, please. Take a moment to type into the chat. If you're doing good, you could give me a thumbs up, or you could just say doing good. Okay, awesome. All right, well, thank you. Let's go ahead and keep going. The next song I have my students play usually is Mary Had a Little Lamb, which these songs are very simple. I start my students off with very simple songs, and we just move on to harder songs. So let's try this one very quickly. You know the notes B, A, and G. If you forget them, you have the tabs up there, and we can go ahead and just play. We're going to play a little bit faster on this one. So let's play a little bit faster on this second song. Hang on, I went to the, oops. There we go. Okay, one more time. Here we go. All right, and remember, when you're holding a note for like a half note, try to measure your breath and hold it evenly. Sometimes we have a tendency to do whenever we're holding really long notes, so be sure you just keep a very even breath. And if you run out of breath, it's okay to stop and take a breath sometimes. All right, so let's go over our C major scale now that we've gone over some of the most beginner-friendly content. I'm going to move more into medium and intermediate player. Once you get a little bit of experience on your ocarina, you get your ocarina, you can actually start playing a few scales. The ocarina is a diatonic instrument, which means it can play, it's a chromatic instrument, which means it can play all the notes in the diatonic scale and in the chromatic scale. If you don't know what that means, it means it can play every note that is available in one piano octave. So we're going to play the C major scale starting from low C to high C. I want you to follow along either with the tabs or with the music. And I'm going to give you 2 beats for every quarter note. Here we go. Ready? Here we go. Now 1 beat per quarter note. Now 8th notes. Sixteenth notes. How did you do with that? I'm going to check the chat real quick because that's super fun to do. That's a really fun warm-up that I like to do with my kids, one that gets progressively harder. So did y'all do okay with that? I agree with that, Charles. Thanks for sharing. Talent is a pursued interest. Anything you're willing to practice, you can do. And that's a very good quote. Thank you. Okay, guys. Well, I hope that that exercise helps a little bit. If you're a beginner and you didn't do very well with that exercise, that's okay. I'm moving to medium player now. So that exercise right there is a little bit trickier because you have to know your notes on the ocarina and you have to know kind of what the fingerings look and sound like. So if you're just kind of like figuring out as you went along, but you did good with the half notes and you're a beginner, that's awesome. That's exactly where you're supposed to be. It takes a little bit of practice before you can get good at the 16th part of it. That took me about 100 tries. So I just want to be honest about that. It's not anything that you should do on your first day. I'm just going over it because I do see a few people on here that are a little bit more intermediate or advanced. And I want to make sure they have something in this panel as well. So let's continue on to the next one. So one thing I just really want to kind of talk about that I haven't touched a lot on is the rhythm. Let me stop sharing my screen very quickly so I can check on the chat and see how you guys are doing. Yes, it's important to be patient too. All right. So with the, let me see, with the breath that we're using, there's one thing called the breath curve that I want to talk about very quickly. And I'm going to share my screen again. I don't think you guys can see it. Let me see. There we go. You should now be able to see my screen starting now. Okay. All right. So the breath curve. This is put together by a really good friend named Robert Hickman. He actually has a book called The Serious Ocarina Player, and he goes over like what a breath curve looks like when you're playing low C. If you don't blow very hot air, it's going to be out of tune. If you blow the same air you would blow on a high note, it would sound like this. So this is also interesting because when you blow really high notes, like a high C, you're going to want to use a little bit more air. So you definitely want to make sure you're aware of what the breath curve looks like. The more you practice, the more hours you spend working on your intonation with drones or with pitch references, the better your intonation will get. And the more you pay attention to the breath curve, the more consistent you'll have notes in tune. All right, so let's talk about a really good topic. And even though the polling feature is not really working, I just want you to type in the chat, which do you prefer, tabs or reading music? I'm going to look real quickly at the chat and I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So which do you like best? Reading tabs? I'm sorry, reading music versus tabs. What do you like? I see a lot of people saying music and I see a few saying both. Some people do play by ear, which is super cool. Music, okay. Sheet music, great. All right. Let's see a few more answers. Christina says sheet music. Thank you, Christina. Okay. All right. So I have a few things to say about this, which for a beginner, since I'm gearing this session towards beginners, I just want to give them kind of like a brief overview. If somebody's learning about the ocarina for the first time in this session, this is their first time seeing ocarina, I just want to say it's okay to start with tabs. Now, if you want to get better at reading music and you want to become a great musician, you want to get to play music, a lot of different music that you like, you're going to have to eventually learn how to read music. That's an important thing. I like one answer that I saw, which I think Charles gave, which was both. I do use both when I'm teaching my students. And as you'll see with this intermediate music, you saw both at the beginning and you even saw me labeling the note names. That's geared towards beginners that have never seen an ocarina before or never played. Once you get more familiar with the note names, once you start getting more familiar with what the notes feel like, that's when I start to take away the tabs. That's when I start to just have music and just sheet music. And you'll see at the end we'll just be reading sheet music. So let's go ahead and start. So with that being said, to read music, you're going to have to learn what rhythm looks like. And rhythm on the page looks different than what rhythm feels when you're not on the page. So the first thing I want to start with is just the two notes we were reading. The quarter note, we were reading a lot of quarter notes. Those are usually the ones we start with, which are one click of the metronome. If you're playing a half note, it's two clicks of the metronome. So that's just an extended sound. If you're playing a whole note, which is the one at the top, that's 4 beats. So that's going to be 4 total clicks. If you're practicing, be sure you practice with the metronome because that's pretty important too. The eighth note is going to be half of a quarter beat. We did a little bit of this during the C scale. And when we were practicing those eighth notes, those were half of the beat. So they went 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So those are kind of nice to get into and to know. Remember, they have a beam connecting them or a flag, a single flag. You'll see the next ones have two flags. So those are called 16th notes. Those are 1/4 of a beat. So usually people count them in the Eastman system, saying 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a. So each beat has 4 sounds. I hope that makes sense. If that didn't make sense at first, I'll go through them from top to bottom. Okay, so I hope that that made sense. I can do a bigger explanation for that. If you leave it in the Q&A, we'll do a little bit of Q&A in about 15 minutes. I'm sorry if you hear sounds. My cats are in the house. All right, so let's talk real quick about method books and about method book versus teacher. So another quick poll. For a beginner, if you're an experienced player, please answer this question. For a beginner, would you recommend for them to get a method book or a teacher? I'm going to stop sharing to see your responses. Thank you, Leomar. So would you recommend a teacher or a method book? That's the question we're answering. All right, I'm seeing some really interesting questions and some really interesting answers. I really love what I'm seeing. I see, I'm going to read a few of these answers. So first, for a complete beginner, teacher, definitely. Really appreciate that answer because sometimes it's really important to have guidance, especially if the person doesn't have any musical background. That's really important. I love that I'm seeing Renit's answer that she says both. I think both is super helpful. If you do have to choose one between the two, it's really important to consider that everybody has different needs. So let's go back real quick to the presentation. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in my experience, and then I'm going to recommend some method books to everybody. So one of the really difficult things is that it's harder to find an ocarina teacher nowadays, and there's an entire thread that was started on the Ocarina Network to kind of help, situate and locate some teachers. It's hard to find a teacher. So, but if you're lucky enough to know one, a teacher is a great resource that can help you get better at your musicianship, at your technique, and a lot of things. If you don't have access to a teacher, and it's like impossible for you to get access to a teacher in any way, especially now we have better access to teachers because we are all on Zoom, we're all on Skype, and that's easier to do. So I'm going to recommend 3 of my best method books that I've reviewed that I personally own, and I've read these books. These books are really great for a person wanting to learn ocarina. My recommendation for a complete beginner would be The Ocarina Method by Chris Gale. That one is very, very comprehensive, and I've gone through it with a lot of beginners, and they've really gotten a lot of step-by-step instruction that has helped them just get so much better at the ocarina and improve a lot. The second one that I recommend is How to Play Ocarina by David Eric Ramos. That method book is very, very good. He spent a lot of time developing that and a lot of careful craft to choosing and selecting his songs in a sequenced way. That's really great. And this one is great, not just for beginners, but it's also great if you're an experienced player. So I recommend this to every single person in the chat. The Serious Ocarina Player book is by Robert Hickman. And I'm sorry if I misspelled the name. I really apologize. But this book is really, really great because it not only has exercises for you to get better at ocarina, but it also has a lot of information about how to record with an ocarina, which there will be a panel about that on Friday. It has an information of how to practice, and it has several other really neat resources that I recommend everybody check out. If you need a link to how to buy these method books, I'll go ahead and leave this on the Facebook page on the event. That way everybody knows like where to find the ocarinas I recommended, where to find the method books that I recommended. That way everybody has a good idea of these. So just a quick poll again. Does anybody own any of these method books that I just mentioned? Does anybody have them? And if so, name the one you like the most, or name your favorite, or just help me know what you guys like. That way I can kind of keep track of that. I see a few people have the Chris Gale book, which very, very helpful as well. Anybody else has another method book that they have? Chris Gale. I see a few Chris Gale. I own the Serious Ocarina one too, Austin. Yeah, it's a really good one. Thank you, Christina, as well. Right, right. I also have a small songbook that helps people sometimes. So that one is also a really good one. I'm working on publishing a method book right now, but it's going to take some time too. So thank you for that, Lomar. Oh, I've heard of that one. The Joy of Music Ocarina Method for the Homeschool Classroom. I got that one lent by my friend Deborah, and she lent it to me, which was also a really good one to listen to. Okay, right. Thank you, Robert. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. All right. So let's go ahead and continue at this point with the presentation. Look on the comments for a little bit of feedback on each one of the books if you're a beginner. Just be sure to kind of read along and see like what other people say, because that's also important to get a recommendation. We're lucky enough to have one of the authors of these books. Sorry, I misspelled your name on the chat. So feel free to ask questions. He's a really knowledgeable ocarinist, and he can help you with a lot of different things. I'm going to move on, though, to the next part. We're going to read some medium melodies. If you don't know E, E is kind of like G. You just add 2 extra fingers on the right-hand side. We're going to read the melody Skin and Bones. And this one has an anacrusis or a pickup on the 3rd beat of the anacrusis measure. So the way it's going to go is I'm going to count 1, 2, then you're going to come in on that E. So it's going to go 1, 2. So let's try to see if we could play together. And I'm going to count, and I'm going to snap. So I'm going to do the melody on the piano. That's all I'm going to do. The melody on the piano as your pitch reference. Here we go. Ready? 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And you notice these are some rhythms we haven't talked about, which are dotted half notes. The dotted half notes get 3 total beats. A dot adds half of the value to a note. So we'll talk more about that. If you guys have questions about that, drop it in the Q&A. We'll get to the Q&A very soon. All right. Another song, if we're looking at new notes, this is also in I borrowed a few pages from my book because I have a small song book that I use to help my students and my friends that follow me on YouTube. I have the note F right here and the note low C. So we're going to focus on those notes. This is more of a song to help them focus on F and C. So let's go ahead and play this one to a steady beat. There's no pickup It's in 4/4 time. I'm gonna give you 4 beats to prep. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, thank you so much. How did you do with those? Share in the chat how you are doing with the music. Um, just want to point out, if you're a complete beginner and this is like totally overwhelming, that's okay. It takes time to get good, kind of like how Charles was mentioning. If you got at least the first note or the second note, you got some of the F's, some of the C's, be very proud of yourself. You can see a new rhythm, the dotted quarter note, that gets 1.5 beats. All right, let's keep going to reading some harder melodies. Now here's where I'm bringing some of the stuff for my more advanced, more intermediate people in the panel. One of my favorite melodies on here is it's a traditional Irish tune called Mates of Mitchelstown. So this one, we're gonna play a little bit slower because it's kind of tricky to play sometimes, but let's go ahead and just read it and let's see how you do. Keep in mind, just a brief roadmap of the song. You're gonna play the first section and you're gonna repeat it and go back. The second time that you play it, you go on to the second section and you take the first ending, which has a number 1 by it, and you go back to the beginning of it. You play again, and then you skip the first ending, go to the second ending. And then on the second ending, it says DC al fine. This stands for da capo al fine, which means go back to the head of the song. So when you're doing that, a strategy to help you transition from tabs to reading sheet music is to have note cards. That's very, very helpful. If you can have note cards of what a D looks like on the staff versus what the tab for a D is, that's super helpful. And you can match the note cards to the note. And that, as a player, if you're transitioning from tabs to sheet music, may be able to help you a lot. I have one note we haven't really looked at a lot, which is high F right there. So if you're playing high F, that one's gonna be no fingers on the ocarina. Be sure you tilt your ocarina down for that high note. Use a lot of high breath. Okay, so I'm gonna go pretty slow. I've never played this on the piano, so it's my first time reading it too. I apologize in advance if I make a mistake. I will give you 4 beats of prep. We're taking this tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeat. Oh, sorry about that. Start at the second ending. My mistake. We're at the beginning. And I like to end it with a D. All right, friends. How did we do on that one? I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for just a moment. I'm gonna just check. How did you do? Did you do okay? If it was kind of hard for you, that's okay. That's a very advanced song that I just have my students that have been working with me for a year or so start to get working on. Again, if you're just focusing on trying to get a good round tone, you're focusing on trying to get a very good sound. Those are good focuses. I'm not saying as a beginner on your first day you should be able to play that. Please don't misunderstand that. This is kind of taking you a little bit through a year's worth of coursework. That way you kind of have a good understanding of what playing music would be like and practicing. All right, we're gonna read one more difficult song, and then I'm gonna say one last thing, and we're gonna head into Q&A. I'm sharing my screen. Thank you guys for the comments. Really appreciate it. Keep commenting, and I'll get to the last question. I see a question on the question and answer panel. I'll get to that very, very soon. All right, guys. Here's the one that I love, love, love. It's Swallowtail Jig. This one is really, really pretty, and it's also kind of an iconic ocarina song. It's an Irish fiddle tune. I'm writing it in D minor. And again, it's got like the first phrase, kind of like the last one we read, that repeats into a first ending and second ending. So I'm going to let you guys read that right now and kind of look at that. When you're done with the second ending, the second time, so you first play the first time, go to the first ending, repeat, go to the second time, then the second, skip the first ending, go to the second ending, keep going to the B section, which starts with A right here by the word there is a repeat sign. You play that section, go to the first ending, repeat, go back to the where it says that repeat goes to, and then skip the first ending, go to the second ending. At the top, you'll see a circled DS al fine. This stands for dal segno al fine, which in Italian it translates to return to the sign. So the sign is at the very top of the song, which means you're going to return right there. We're not going to repeat, and we're just going to end at the second ending. I hope that made sense. I'm going to go ahead and play just the melody on my right hand, just to keep it very simple. And let's go ahead and kind of get a really good groove on this. I'm going to take a tempo, since a lot of y'all might know the song. I'm going to take a tempo kind of like maybe a little bit faster. So I'm going to give you a one. Da, 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 da. Let's try it together. Ready? 1, 2, ready, and go. All right. So sorry about that if you heard a few mistakes. I'm not used to playing it on the piano, but that was super fun. I hope y'all had fun too with it. I did have a section for the double ocarina, which I just briefly wanted to touch on. If you're a beginner, a double ocarina is much harder to play. It has 2 chambers, and you have to do something called a chamber switch to achieve getting some of those high notes. Today we can read a little part of the portion of the Vivaldi Concerto. If you have your double, I'm going to give you about maybe 10 seconds to go get it. So hurry, hurry, go get it real quick if you have it. We're going to go ahead and get started because we're almost out of time for this panel. Your first note is a G, and you're going to need an F sharp. if you don't know how to finger an F sharp on the double, some of them have an extra sub hole for it, and some of them you have to use the forked fingering where you lift the third finger. All right, ready? And then the next part is lovely, lovely ending to a phrase that I don't have in the next page. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of a sample of kind of what playing double ocarina is like, kind of like just understanding a little bit about it. With that being said, guys, really hope you enjoyed the panel. That's a great one to play on the double if you're looking for repertoire to play on the panel. Lines up very, very well. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of just start a question and answer session. And yeah, the rule about breathing let me stop sharing my screen. The rule about breathing with how to apply to a double alto C. So that's interesting. I have a double alto C from Vocalink right here. So the breath curve is different on a double because when you switch chambers, is my understanding, and correct me if somebody knows more about this, but it's my understanding that when you switch chambers, the lower notes require less of a breath curve and the higher notes require a higher breath curve. So usually you have to switch from very high on the first chamber to very low on the first chamber if you're playing E, which is another reason why it's challenging to play the double. I'm going to read a comment that I saw. On double chamber switching, it helps if you keep as little of the mouthpiece in your mouth as possible and move the instrument away from your lips slightly. It depends on the instrument. Very insightful comment, and thank you for that, Robert. So guys, thank you again so much for coming to this panel. I hope you learned something. I hope you found this panel fun and engaging and interesting. So excited to have y'all here today. Ocarina is something that's just so exciting and fun for me. So I really hope you enjoy the rest of the festival. I know I'm having a lot of fun putting this together. Really got a good chance to know a few of y'all, and really surprised by a couple of guests that I was very happy to see today. But just wanted to kind of tell you that the links to all the ocarinas, like the ocarinas I recommended, I want to post a few links that you can buy them on. Like I said, the easiest way to access the Noble and to buy it is an Amazon link. The easiest way to get the STL one is through their direct website. The easiest way to get the Songbird one is to get through their direct website. And also, if you don't live in the United States and you live in Latin America, la mejor manera de comprar las ocarinas de STL, disculpe, en el Mercado Libre, la mejor manera de comprar la ocarina de Sakura Wayta y de Luna Kelta es de comprarlas en su página de Facebook directamente. So for anybody that didn't understand that, the best way to buy Luna Kelta and Sakura Wayta is directly through their Facebook page. Okay. All right. So, oh yes, don't let me forget about Bento Canta as well. Bento Canta is another maker from Brazil. Okay. So with that being said, does anybody have any other questions that they want to ask about our festival, or like just anything that you have a question? If you have like a raised hand, you can ask me directly. You don't have to type it. You're welcome to ask it directly, or if you prefer typing, you want to go ahead and type it in, ask anything and I'd be happy. Okay, so I got a question about vibrato. The vibrato that I developed it's a tricky thing to develop vibrato. I know STL has a book that's kind of like helpful towards developing good vibrato. But one of the methods that I like to use is I like to, and this has nothing to do on the ocarina, so sorry if this is weird, but I like to work on singing because once I develop a good vibrato with my voice, just with a good natural voice, then that kind of pushes me towards having it on the ocarina because on the ocarina it's just spinning the air. So when you spin it with your voice and you have a good vibrato on your voice, then that helps. One way to kind of like practice that, and I work this because I'm originally a cellist, so I would wobble back and forth on my cello. One thing that I learned to do is, but that's not very natural when you like make your breath uneven. Not very natural. You can try it with a metronome, but the best way to internalize that vibrato is to get that through practicing it with singing and with your voice. That way you can get that together. Okay, I'm going to read another question. I got asked if the panels are recorded. Yes, I'm recording all the panels. They'll be posted on the YouTube US Festival Ocarina page. So, yes. Will there be open chat or video chat again? There is one scheduled for tonight for the 7 p.m. Yeah. So with that being said, guys, I'm just gonna give Fabio the next panel. He's doing a panel on Ocarina history. I hope you guys can check it out. Um, with all of that, I just want to give you guys like a really good 5 minutes to take a break, go get a drink of water, go get your ocarina if you want to get a different one or anything like that. I hope you enjoyed again. He'll be talking about ocarina history. He's the curator of a museum in Italy, and it's a really great treat that he's doing this session. It's one of the ones I'm the most excited about. So I'm going to be watching, and I'm really excited about it. So stay on the Zoom call. I'm going to go ahead and mute myself and going to go ahead and get that all started for him. So thank you for being here. I'll see you guys soon in about 4 minutes. Bye.
Hello.
Hello. So
Hello.
I
Hi,
think
Fabio.
Fabio has logged on, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. So just a
Fabio, can
moment.
you hear me okay? Hang on just a moment longer, please. Thank you.
I'm back.
We can't see your camera.
Yeah. Sorry. Volume. Okay. Do you listen me?
We can hear you. Yes, we
Uh,
can hear you. Can you turn your camera on? At the
I
very
can
bottom of the
try.
screen, it says start video.
Yes, it's my first time with this Zoom.
Okay, no problem.
Does it work? No. Ah, start
No,
video
not
here.
yet.
I found it.
Okay.
It seems that you should start my video.
Okay, hang on. I don't think I have an option to start your video. I think you have to start it.
Hmm. Because if I try to start the video, it's okay. Okay. It says you
I
cannot
can see
start
my
the video
video, but we still can't see yours.
because the host has stopped it. It says.
Oh, hang on. All right. Let's see if this works. Can you try to do your video?
No, I see my my wife name because this is the computer of my wife, Barbara Giorgi.
Right.
Rename.
I've approved him as a
Let's try
co-host,
again.
David.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, I'm gonna
Hello.
turn off my video and mute.
Survive light. I changed too much light. Ah.
We can hear you now, Fabio. We can see you now as well.
Okay.
Can you see
So
the
please
chat
let me
discussion,
know when.
Fabio?
Sorry.
Can you see the chat discussion, Fabio?
Yes, yes, I was looking. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Fabio is overexposed. I am outside in the Tuscany countryside, and this is the best place I could find. Sorry for the light. Now it is afternoon in Italy. It is very hot. It is the hottest day in the year, probably. Yeah, this is an Ocarina t-shirt. I show you. It was made in occasion of a Ocarina Festival in Jiaxing, organized by Focalink. It is one of my favorite Ocarina t-shirt. So I don't know how it works. Please let me know when do you think it is time to go. Devi finire a fare un saluto anche tu? No, no. Sono tutte le chat qua che fanno i saluti. Ciao, ciao, ciao.
You can start if you want.
Ah, okay, we are ready. So, first of all, I want to apologize for my bad English. As you know, I am Italian and I am not mother language. I speak English quite fast, but very bad. So, forgive me again. For the ones that, if you don't understand, please ask me and I will try to explain better. I am Fabio Gagliani. I am from Budrio, Italy, but now I live in Bologna, quite close. But now I am in holiday in Tuscany. So you see this nice landscape. I'm in the house of some friends. And I bring with me some ocarina and some whistle to show you and to explain you what is the history of our beloved instrument. We can begin from this. You see it? It is a goose. It is a whistle with the shape of a goose. Because the name ocarina, we can divide in two parts, oca and rina. And the first part, oca, in Italians means goose. So the second part means little. So ocarina is a little goose, because the original one was a whistle with the shape of a bird like this. You listen me? Is okay? Yes, okay, thank you. Because I have no feedback, so I am not used to speak to myself. This kind of whistle was quite common in northern Italy during the 19th century. And it was also common in the neighborhood, in the countryside of Bologna. And my village, Budrio, is in the countryside. It was a toy for children, mostly. It was sold at the fair on Sunday. And the main character of our history is a young man called Giuseppe Donati from Budrio. He was born in 1836. And when he was about 17 years old, he worked in a factory where they made, little factory, where they made bricks to make houses. And they had to have a big fire for all the night. And so the workers had a lot of time and a lot of clay during the night to make things. And as Giuseppe Donati was also a musician, he decided to make whistle like this. But he wanted to do a new musical instrument. So he tried to make a whistle with not only one hole, but with many holes. You see? I love this this animal. It is not originally made by Donati, but I think that he made something like this. So a whistle with many holes. But the shape is not very easy to play and to take in your hands. This came from Romania. And so after some experiments, he found that the best shape was this, the one that everybody know as ocarina typical shape. This is an original ocarina made by Donati. I don't know if you can see his name here. No, quite difficult. I took this from Budrio Museum to show everywhere in the world. When I go to Asia, I usually play this. It has only 9 holes, no hole here. So this is the sound of an instrument that was built more than 150 years ago. This is one of the very first ocarina that Donati made. It was made before the invention of the mold. It was shaped by hands. The surface is not regular like now. What happened? It happened that the friends of Donati were very surprised by this instrument. So together they begin to experiment, make a complete family of instruments. We are about 1863, 1864. They were already able to make a quintet of 5 ocarinas of different shapes. Now I don't have all the 5 ones, but I can show you the number 5. You see it? Maybe like this is better. With my friend Angelo in the background. This is a Das C that come from China, but most of them are like this. This has 12 holes. And this is my favorite one, with the name of my wife. It is Alto C made by Hans Rotter, so it is 1 octave above BC. The first one that I play with BC was a melody from an Italian movie of the 70s, not very known, but I like it. And the second one was a melody from Eastern Europe, from the Yiddish tradition. And this is the small one. What can I play? This is, of course, soprano C. So you can imagine 5 with soprano G and alto G that I don't have now. And we make concerts all around Budrio and also in Bologna, and they also arrived to Rome. But they play for about 1 year, but it was not enough successful to become professional players. But after some years in 1869, 1870, with a new manager and a new name and a new ocarina, because they became a set with 7 different sizes, they begin to work as a professional musicians, and they played all over Europe for about 8 years, with a lot of problem and a lot of funny history, because they always together and they split and they put together again and split again and so on. So the ocarina became quite well known all over Europe and mostly in Austria. Well, by the way, this is also an ocarina made in Austria by Kurt Bosch. And this is the first ocarina made out of Budrio. You see it. You probably know it is made by Heinrich Fien. It was all black, but it has been used a lot, probably. So now it is with the color of clay. And it has a tuning slide, but my idea that tuning slide is not very useful. I can play something from Austria. Change tuning. So there is half a tone of difference, but the difference is in high notes. The lower notes don't change so much. So the tuning slide for me is not very good for tuning. So this Heinrich Fien was the first ocarina maker not from Italy. He was very successful. I think he also invented the modern way to make ocarina with like this, two parts put together, like 99% of the makers do now in the world, mostly in Asia. One of the most important competitors of Heinrich Fien were the Mezzetti brothers. They were from Italy, from Budrio. This is an original ocarina made by Mezzetti, and this is the original box. Very beautiful. Velvet. Mezzetti invented the double hole for the C sharp. And I have many instruments here in front of me. The ocarina became quite successful. It was a good business to make ocarina at the end of 19th century, like now in Asia. I would like to read also the chat, but I'm too busy. Probably I can do it later. And so this is a metal ocarina made by Mathieu, a French maker from Paris. He thought that it was too expensive, that it took too much time to make ocarina in clay. It was the result of manual work. So he invented a metal ocarina. I think it is not a very good idea, but he could not do anything better because the plastic at that time didn't exist. But in the 40s, someone invented the plastic from petrol. And so this is one of the very first ocarina making elite. It was made by the US government for the army during the Second World War. I tried to play it, but so this is one of the first plastic ocarinas. Now we have also cheap instruments like this one from China that can play very well. And I use them for to teach ocarina to in the schools to children. This is a song very famous in China. It was played by, composed by a Taiwanese ocarina player. You can play also with a plastic one quite well. I bring with me also, oh well, this is the Renaissance of ocarina. It was in Japan. The first ocarina were made in Japan in the 30s, but they were not so much successful like everywhere in the world. But they became very successful because of Mr. Sojiro. Sojiro is a very famous and very good ocarina player and also ocarina maker, because he plays ocarinas that are made by himself. And he's very successful. He sells a lot of CD from the 80s. And so a lot of people in Japan love ocarina sound and love to play ocarina. And so there are many professional musicians like me, like Satoshi Ozawa, and many more. I have a lot of friends in Japan, and this is a Japanese ocarina. It is very similar to original Italian one, but it has 12 holes, as you know. There are 2 more holes here, 1 and 2. And the pinky left finger is different, because here is little and here it is big. So the position of high mi is different. Japanese instruments usually have a very sweet sound, more similar to recorder probably than to Italian style ocarinas. This song was from the movie Laputa, Miyazaki movie. I bring also some strange instruments like this. You see, it is a real cup. You can drink in it, but it has also 4 holes. And if I blow here in the little hole, it sounds. What can I play? Teacup ocarina. And this is another 4-hole ocarina made by John Langley. I think this is the most little musical instrument in the world. You can compare with the size of my mobile. It is really little. I never found any musical instrument more little than this. Mm. The 4/0 system was invented by an English musician. His name was John Taylor. He died a few years ago. And he took the idea from the clay flutes of South America, but he changed the fingering. And he discovered in the 60s that with only 4 holes, it was possible to have an octave. So this, and also the cup uses the 4/0 systems. And this is the octave. This system is very used in England by David Ligis and to teach music in the schools. I bring also this one because it's quite exceptional. It is an experiment, the question point to Carina, you see. It was made by John Taylor. I don't know if I can play it really. Because of its shape, so long and so thin, it can make overtones like a flute. But it's very difficult to play because the fingering is very strange. And just to finish, my exposition of 16 ocarinas, I show you this. Probably you know very well this kind of ocarina. It is a triple ocarina. This one is a special one made by my Chinese friend, Mr. Dong Pei, because I asked him to change a little bit the fingering and also the sound. You see these big holes. The sound is very strong compared to other instruments, and it reminds me the sounds of Italian style ocarina, European style. I play for you a song called Nostalgia. Mm. So this is my ocarina family. I show you from Tuscany. And if my daughter that is here with me, Cecilia, ti sei? If she wants to play something with me, I think we have enough time. I try to read the chat. It took a lot of time. Sorry. Nicolas?
There is plenty of time.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So I suggest to play something with my daughter Cecilia. She's here with me.
Hello.
She just arrived from the beach. Ok, Ceci, cosa suoniamo?
Go.
Suoniamo Vite in crosta?
Ok.
Dai. Fai un sol? Un si? Re basso? Okay. We play a traditional song from Sicily, southern Italy. 1, 2, 1. thank you for your nice words. Bravo, Cecilia. Yes.
Thank you.
Do you want to play something else, Cecilia? Vuoi suonare qualcos'altro?
Cosa?
Facciamo Morricone?
Okay.
This is very difficult from a Western, Italian Western movie. Yes, it is a few dollars more in English, Italian, per qualche dollaro in più. By Sergio Leone, music of
Anche Buon Brutto Cattivo.
one of the good, the bad, and the
È un
ugly.
misto.
There are two together. She explained me. The music is from Ennio Morricone, that was a great Italian musician, and he died about 1 month ago, I think, a few weeks ago. So it was really a pleasure to meet you from all over the world. I think it was a pleasure for me to play for you here in the Italian countryside. It is very hot here, about 35 degrees. And okay, hope to see you next time, maybe in America at the US Festival. Who knows?
Thank you so much. Really appreciate you, Fabio. Please,
Thank
in the
you.
comments, type a lot of comments to let know Fabio how great he did with his panel and how much you enjoyed it, and how much you enjoyed his playing with his daughter, Cecilia.
Yes.
Cecilia, right? Okay.
Yes, Cecilia.
Okay. So
Okay. Now she
anybody
can
going
listen
to the
also.
festival?
Ah,
Sorry, say
no.
that again.
Sorry, can you repeat? Sorry, I
Yes, no
didn't
problem.
listen.
So I just didn't hear what you said, but I was going to. You guys did a great job. I wanted to congratulate you and your daughter on your performance and on your panel. And I wanted to invite everybody to come join us for our next panel at 2 p.m. I'll be posting the link 30 minutes prior to the session, so I'll post it at 1:30. The session starts at 2 p.m. We'll be joining Tina Hardison for Ocarina modding, finishing, and repair. We'll be joining Jordan Moore at 3 p.m. on how to practice Ocarina effectively. We'll be joining Ocabanda, Silverwind Ocarina, on how to start an Ocarina Septet. We'll also be doing our session 6 with Emily Wiggins on the influence of anime and video games in Ocarina. So I really hope to see you guys there for the afternoon session. Thank you for coming, guys. Wow, thank you. And thank you very much, Fabio. Bravissimo, bravissimo, Fabio.
Thank
Me
you.
encantó, me gustó mucho.
I will try to answer to some question now.
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, Fabio can answer questions. And Fabio, I can read them. Do you want me to read them for you?
Yes, I read.
Okay.
I saw that someone
because
asked
we have 2 questions right now.
Okay.
The first one says, hello, name is Charles. When did you start playing ocarina, and do you have anything for beginners or new players?
Yeah, interesting question. I began when I was 8, 9 years old, like my daughter. So it's a long time I play ocarina. Before I tried to play recorder and clarinet. I still play a little bit. I play quite well
Okay.
recorder also. And what to do to teach ocarina? Well, after many years of experience, I think that it is better to play using only the left hand, like this, with exercise. Because it is important that the student can control very well the fingers and the holes, and only in the second time to use the right hand. So this is just an idea, my idea.
Okay. Wow. Well, thank you for those hints. There's one more. There's another question, Fabio. It
Yeah.
says, do you have any helpful hints for inspiring ocarinas to play ocarina?
Sorry, any
hints, a way to inspire ocarina players or to help people get into ocarina?
No, I would like that more and more people would like to play ocarina, because ocarina can be played by people from all the ages. It's an intergenerational instrument. In Japan, the middle average of ocarina players is 70 years old. In the US, I think it is 15 years old. So in the middle, everybody can play ocarina. It is a pocket instrument and quite easy to play. If you want to play well, not so easy, but just to begin, it's not difficult, and to have fun. And I try with my music to show what you can play with the ocarina, what is it possible to do. And also I am member of GOB, the Gruppo Ocarinistico Budriese, and in our concert also we try to show what is possible to do with an ocarina little orchestra, and it is a very strange, very special music for me. So with our concert, with our music, we try to improve the ocarina. I don't know in English.
Oh, well, thank you. So I have 3 more questions that just came in for you, Fabio. Are you willing to answer them? Can you answer them?
Sorry, no,
3 new questions. Okay. So there is one that says, who were the major composers, original ocarina ensemble sheet music published in the 19th century? And are they on the International Music Library, IMSLP?
You mean composer for septet or for ocarina solo player? Because there are
I think the person is asking about septet.
Well, for septet, I think you cannot find in, I don't know, I never tried, but I know that you can find in PDF in the website of Giorgio Pacchioni, the complete series of the books handwritten by the old ocarina players. We lost the old books of the 19th century, but we have books from the 20s and the 30s. And in the website that my Giorgio Pacchioni made, you can find all the music. And it is handwritten, quite difficult to read, and also quite difficult to play. Now, I know that my friend Emiliano Bernagozzi is publishing his music for septet, and you can buy it in Amazon. If you write Emiliano Bernagozzi, you can find it easily. And it is computer written, so most of the arrangements from that are played by GOB are from Emiliano.
Emiliano Benagotti, is that what you said?
Yes.
Emiliano.
Yes, he's member also of
I want to include it in the notes.
Yeah. he is a good, very the best arranger for septet in the world for me.
Okay. There's another question that came in that says, "How did you teach breath control by Robert?"
Well, ocarina, you don't need, for my experience, a special breath to play ocarina because it's quite natural, and I try to use the technique of most of wind instrument. So the belly must be hard, and the sound is better. But for beginners, I don't care very much about of the breath. Usually, it became natural to breathe well because ocarina don't require a strong breath like trumpet or clarinet or other. No pressure.
Okay. It says here, "I have heard that some Bessel flutes older than Donati's ocarina had a similar shape to the one we have today. Do you know more about this?"
Well, I think that the technology to make ocarina, like the one that made Donati, already existed since thousands of years. It was not impossible because the vessel flute existed since 4,000 years before Christ. I saw a picture of a fish found in China that is 6,000 years old. So they are kind of ocarinas, but what is special with the Budrio ocarina is, I think, the shape is quite original, but the most important thing is that Donati made a family of instruments. So with the family of different sizes, it became a real musical instrument following the tradition of Western music, like violin, viola, cello, and double bass, just to make an example. And this invention by Donati with the concept of the ocarina players of 19th century become very well known in all the Europe, and probably it didn't happen before. If maybe in, I don't know, in the Middle Age, someone had made a vessel flute like ocarina, but he just made one or a few of them, and nobody know about this, then it disappeared. So, well, I must say that he invented this because we just know about this. We don't know about what happened before, but as we don't know, we cannot say anything. I don't know if it is.
Okay. We have a few more questions. It says right here, "How do you think about Messetti's method today?" Or what do you think about Messetti's method?
I think it is the most important method in the history of ocarina. If you are a good musician and you want to practice and to become very skilled, it is very good. I think that for beginners, for 90% of the ocarina players, it is not what they look for. For someone that just look for fun, to play music just for fun, for not professional musicians, probably it is a bit too difficult, the approach.
Okay. And Gilles says, "Thank you very much for your answer." Just so you know. I have a few more questions. There's one that says in the Q&A, "What do you think has been one of the best innovations of the ocarina since Donati's original design?"
Well, the multi-chamber ocarina is something very important. By the way, it was invented already at the beginning of 20th century in Budrio. Vicinelli and all the other makers, also Donati, already made the multi-chamber ocarina, the double ocarina. Then it was developed in the last years, in the last 30 years in Asia, and now it is very common. Another capital invention is the Japanese style, the Asian style with the 12 holes. But I don't say it is better than a European style, than a 10 holes. I think it's different because the sound is different. For some kind of music, I prefer to play this, but for some kind of music, I prefer to play this. So there is space for all kind of ocarina, 12 holes and 10 holes. There is a lot of music that you can play with 10 holes, and so.
Okay. A lot of people are saying thank you for your answers, and that's a great answer. And thank you, Maestro.
No, thank you to you
there's
for your
one last
question,
question.
because my English, I think, is very bad. No, I'm
You're doing great,
tired, so-
Fabio. Thank you so much. So the last two questions that I have, and then we have to end the session, is do you know what instrument Donati played before he invented the ocarina?
Yes, of course. He played the organ in the church, so he can read music, as all his friends. They all play other instruments, and he also played the clarinet in the Budrio band. And most of members of the first group were members of the Budrio band. They were about 20 years old, and they were all friends of Donati.
Okay. So the last question we have is saludos, greetings from Peru. It says, is there any Baroque or classic method to play ocarina?
I don't understand very much the question. Well, ocarina is not a Baroque instrument, but you can play Baroque music, but it is not historically correct. I like to play. I also play with some concerts written for trumpet, for example, or for flute, with the string quartet or string orchestra, and they sound very well. But ocarina was invented 100 years after the Baroque age. So
okay,
it was invented mostly to play folk music. I think that folk music sound very well, European folk music. I also made a book with 20 nice songs arranged for ocarina. But you can play all kind of music, also jazz.
How can we find your book, Fabio?
The book was published by Nobel, so it is in Korean.
Okay.
I got one here just to show it. I bring also some paper. This is to show where is Budrio in Italy.
Oh, okay.
And this is the picture of the first group. You see it?
Wow.
And also this. It was a postcard to make advertise for the first concerts. And this is the book that I wrote for Nobel last year. A Taste of European Folk Music. Probably you can find in the website of Nobel, but it is in Korean, so I cannot help you.
Okay.
But the music is
this. European folk music. Okay, well, in the chat, please show Fabio your support for his panel. He did an amazing job with this panel. Fabio, bravissimo.
Thank
Excelente.
you.
I loved your panel. Thank you so much for sharing your ocarinas and the history behind it. I learned a lot. So thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Yes,
if you see in the chat, you can
write
see
me on Messenger or whatever, so you can find me easily in Facebook.
Okay, will do. Well, thank you very much, and we'll be back at 2 p.m. Check for our link at 1:30, and bravissimo to Fabio.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you for organizing everything, and good luck for this wonderful US Ocarina Festival. And see you in Budrio.
Thank you so much, Fabio.
Hope. Bye-bye.
Bye. See you soon.